I'm Grandmaster Ben Finegold and you're not. We have a lot of people in the class and they're all new except for Andre. And some other kids aren't new either. Weren't you here last week? Yeah. And you've been here before, but I don't remember when. What's the question? What? You have a question? Okay. Now I have 2 rules in my class. Okay. If you want to say something, raise your hand. And the second rule is, don't raise your hand. Okay. Yeah. He gets it. Okay. No, don't raise your hand. Okay. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Tata Steel, and then we're going to do some actual chess stuff. So one thing I like my students to know is chess culture. So if I say who's the best player in the world and you're like, you mean a basketball? That's the wrong answer. Okay, so who's the best chess player in the world?
Magnus Carlsen.
Magnus Carlsen's the world chess champion. He's the highest rated. That's right. Can you name anybody else who's top 10 in the world? Anybody? No? Carlsen, that's it? Nobody else is any good?
I don't remember.
Nothing? Nobody's got nothing? That's why it's the beginner's class. Okay, so there's Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. He's number 3. Fabiano Caruana. He's number 2 in the world. He's the best player in the U.S. Wesley So. He's pretty good. Hikaru Nakamura. Vishy Anand was top 10 in the world since before you were born. I don't think he is anymore. Like 12 maybe. Hello? Yeah? Okay. No. Just, he's old. He's old school. Yeah, he's winning this tournament that's going on now with all the best players in the world. Also, he's the world rapid champion as of 3 weeks ago. So he won $150,000 first. Or was it $250,000? $250,000.
Oh.
Yeah, but think of the taxes. Yeah, don't talk. Yeah, you can't sit there and talk. We're recording, so they can just hear you and they won't hear me. Yeah, if you want to talk, you can go outside. Okay. Now, so in Wijk aan Zee, it's a city in Holland you never heard of. The only city in Holland you heard of, and like 3 of you have heard of it, is Amsterdam. Right? Back me up. And then the other kids are like, what? Yeah, nothing? No, never heard.
I've heard of Amsterdam.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, that's the only city in Holland you've heard of. He's also heard of Rotterdam, right? No, Amsterdam's my only hope. Okay, now Wijk aan Zee is a small seaside resort. Okay, it's by the sea. There's water. It's cold. It's very cold. It's cold. I've been there. It's cold. And every year in January, they have all the super grandmasters go and play in a tournament. That's happening right now. And it's later there, so the games are ending. So I was watching the games. If you go here, this is the guy I was telling you was number 3 in the world, Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. What's his favorite Peter Gabriel song? Anybody know? No? It's Shakhriyar the Monkey. No, nothing. People at home got it. Yeah. And then you've heard of Magnus Carlsen because you said his name. So he's playing in the tournament. He won his game. Kramnik was the world champion. Wesley So, I said his name. Anand you've heard of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is all one tournament. And they're playing, everybody plays everybody. Let's see who the smartest in the class is. When everybody plays everybody, what kind of tournament is that?
It's called a tournament.
No, that guy's right. Whoever that guy is. He's so good at chess. You know what his name is?
Who?
Win. Right? Yeah. Yeah, his name is Win. That's how good he is at chess.
Hey, Win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, his brother's not good at chess. You know what his brother's name is? There you go. Yeah, loser is also funny. Okay, so this tournament's going on, and when you guys play chess, in fact, I saw you play chess with him, the games end in like 10 minutes, right? So you guys played 3 games in like half an hour. These games never end. So for example, this game right here, Caruana versus Gawain Jones, okay, and I actually met his wife in St. Louis, okay? This game's been going on for 4.5 hours, and it's gonna go another hour. Okay, and the computer says, yeah, and they're still playing. And there's another game going on, the one with Wei Yi and Svidler. And if Svidler loses, where will he go? He'll go on the roof. He'll be Svidler on the roof. Well, you didn't get that. Why are you laughing? Okay, and then they got this position. They've also been playing 4.5 hours. Notice this pawn's going to promote, and that one will not, so the computer likes white.
All
right? Computer says, yay, white's going to win. Okay, now, there's a lot of tournaments throughout the year. This is one of the stronger ones, so we watch and go, wow, those guys are good. Then when I teach classes, I show their games, and the kids are like, wow, those guys are better than me. Okay, now, in March is the biggest of the biggest tournaments you guys can all watch. In March, it's the candidates tournament. Whoever wins that tournament plays Magnus Carlsen in November. Magnus Carlsen is the world champion. He has to defend his title in November. It's in your favorite city in England, because it's the only one you've heard of. They haven't heard of any city in England.
London?
London, yeah. So in November in London, they're going to play for the world championship. Magnus versus whoever wins in March. The March tournament is all 2,800 rated. Those guys are good, right? Let me tell you how strong the tournament is. Have you guys heard of Anand, the world champion?
Yeah.
He's not good enough to play. Tough tournament. Okay, and there's 3 Americans playing. Actually, there's 2 Americans playing. Yeah, Wesley So and Caruana. Nakamura didn't get in. Okay, so in March, that'll be really exciting to see who plays Magnus. All right, now, today, we're going to talk about, I have to remember what it is. What's it called?
What?
What's the acronym? It's called Loose Pieces Drop Off. What's that called?
Oh, loose pieces drop off.
Yeah, that's not the acronym. It's like, anyway, the point is,
LP.
exactly, occasionally you guys give pieces away. For example, when you're awake or when you're playing chess.
I think that's called LPDF.
Yeah, LPDO, loose pieces drop off. That's what it's called, LPDO. They don't actually, yeah. Now, we're going to show examples of that and ask you questions, and you'll answer the questions. Then you'll be the greatest player in your chair. Don't touch anybody's chair, especially win. Okay, so the reason people lose pieces, there's 2 reasons. The 4th rank and the 5th rank. You should move your pieces out. Then when your opponent takes them, you're like, why did I move my pieces out? Well, you weren't careful. Okay, so for example, let's say there's a spelling bee and you want to win the spelling bee. The only way to win is to go. If you sit at home and watch on TV, you're not going to win. Then you go to the spelling bee. The first word is bathroom, and you're like Q, X, the symbol for boron, the symbol for Batman, Z. And they're like, you spelled that wrong. Now you go home and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have gone to that. I was embarrassed. The only way you can win is if you go. The only way to win at chess is to play chess. If you're like, I don't like losing, I'm going to cry like a baby. Okay? Well, then you won't beat anybody because you're not playing. So in chess, when you move your pieces out and your opponent takes them, and you're like, oh no, I shouldn't have moved my pieces out. That's not true. You should move your pieces out. Just don't let your opponent take them. Okay? So you have to do both. You have to play aggressive and careful. Very hard to do. Okay? Now, I like to play aggressive because I play 1-minute chess, so I lose a lot of pieces. My wife, Karen, she doesn't like to play aggressive because they take her pieces. So she plays real scared, and I play real crazy. So it's funny. Our games don't make any sense. Okay, now we're going to show you lots of examples. I have 9 examples. That way, if anybody from Germany is watching, they'll like it, right? Because 9. Yeah, there you go. Okay, 1 person got it. Okay. Okay, so these are mainly from the openings, and they're opening traps that have happened in my games, I've seen on the internet, or I was sitting there watching, shaking my head. Now, here's why I'm better than you at chess. Occasionally, I turn my head, and there's a chess game going on, and people make mistakes. And then I'm like, oh, okay. Then I punish people when they make the same mistakes, and I don't make those mistakes. So if I've seen 1 million chess games, and you've seen 10 chess games, I've seen more than you.
Yeah.
The way to get good at chess is to play a lot of chess.
Yeah.
Then when you see 1,000 blunders, now when your opponents do that, you punish them, and you don't do that. That's the theory. In practice, you guys blunder anyway. But okay, now I'll give you a funny example. No talking. I was at a chess camp in Michigan, because I'm from Michigan. You know what I'm talking about.
I'm from Michigan.
Yeah, I know. Okay, and you lived in Commerce Township. He's like, how did he know that? Right? Commerce Township. What? Yeah, Commerce Township. Okay, now, I was at a chess camp, so the kids were really good. Okay. And there were 2 kids who never won a game. 0 for their life. So I taught them something. I taught them the scholar's mate, or as kids like to call it, your kids, what do you call that? It's called scholar's mate, but you kids call it something else. Adults don't know. 4-move checkmate. There's a kid. Okay, and you guys call 4-move checkmate when it's like 30 moves. You're like, oh, queen f7, that's the 4-move checkmate. Now, I showed the kids this, and they nodded. Then I had them play a game, and that was the first game they played. Okay, so the kid with white, that was the first game he ever won. Okay, so when he played queen f7 mate, he said checkmate, and his opponent said, that's not checkmate. Then his opponent looked for like a minute and said, oh, okay. Then they played again, and the same thing happened. The same kid won. The other kid said, that's not checkmate. Then he looked and he said, oh, okay. Then they did it again, the same thing happened. Wow. So the one kid that I showed, he learned the checkmate. The other kid's like, what? Every time. Okay, so that kid had to learn golf. And now he's the best golfer in the world. No. Okay, so the point is, I can teach you stuff, then you forget it in 1 second. That doesn't matter. If you remember it, then you beat everybody. If I teach you 1,000,000 things, you'll beat Magnus Carlsen. If I teach you 1,000 things, and you remember 10 of them, and you forget 990 of them, then you'll beat anybody. Okay, so what we're going to learn today is loose pieces drop off when they're on these ranks. And the reason is they're usually not protected. Okay, now I will surprise you and explain. Whoa, I didn't do that one. I will surprise you and explain all your pawns are protected. They're all protected. If somehow your opponent cheated and took one of those pawns, you would take whatever he took with. This pawn's protected once. This pawn's protected once. This you guys can't even count that high. You guys can't even count how high that's protected.
The king is protected. The bishop is protected.
Raise your hand if you want to say something. You, incorrect. I mean you.
You know, if the queen side pawns, they're like badly protected.
That's correct.
But there's no likely the opponent will hit firecracker power directly at this area.
That's what I was going to say. How'd you know what I was going to say? Did you steal my notes? Oh.
I looked at a book from a grandmaster.
Was it me?
No.
Darn. Okay, you with some crazy comment.
I was saying that the pawn that you just highlighted.
Yeah, this one.
That was highlighted right before was protected by the bishop, queen, and the king.
And
the knight.
And the knight. Bam. That's protected 4 times. Anyway, here's my point. Listen to my point. No, raise your hand if you want to say something. Don't raise your hand. My point is, everything's protected. And when you move it, sometimes it's not. For example, is this pawn protected? No is close to being the right answer, but not the right answer.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay. Is this pawn protected?
No.
No. So when you move things, sometimes they're protected, sometimes they're not. You should know that. That would help you play. Now here's a game. It's your favorite opening. Caro Khan, named after Caro and true story. And there was a third guy, his name was Defense.
Oh.
Okay, maybe I'm kidding. Now in this position, black can play queen e7 check. And you guys are low rated, so you love check.
No.
You were dreaming last night and you put your opponent in check.
No.
And then you were like, yes, best dream ever. Okay, now we'll see who the smartest is. I'm betting on nobody. How many moves can white make here that get out of check? You have to get out of check. That's the rule.
It's basically 2.
Basically 2, but there's a lot more.
4, 5, 3, 4.
So we got 4,
5,
4,
6,
6. Unclear. 5, 6, 6. He has no comment, and it's too hard for him.
6.
6?
Not too hard. 5.
I don't know what the answer is. I would be surprised if it was only 6.
Oh.
I would say it's at least 7. I haven't counted yet. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see if there's an 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I only see 7.
I see
So nobody sees 7, just me?
I see 7. I see 7.
Yeah,
I see
but
7.
you have to tell the truth.
Because of
Yeah, I think he's telling the truth. Remember to raise your hand if you want to say something. Okay, so the reason nobody saw 7 is nobody saw that.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of them went, oh. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5, that's 6, and that's 7. Is there another one? Okay,
Yeah.
now, I think that's it. Now, some of those moves you wouldn't play. Like you're not playing bishop e6.
No.
Okay, and you're not playing king d2. Okay, so there's 3 moves that are very reasonable looking. Like any of you might play them. Very reasonable looking. Queen e2, knight e2, and bishop e3. I don't think a lot of you would play the other 4 moves. I don't think so. Some of you might play bishop e2. Now, it turns out of the 3 reasonable moves, 2 of them lose. Man, chess is hard. There's only 1 reasonable move that does not lose. So somebody suggests a move that's good. You have a 1 out of 7 chance. Queen e2 is what every grandmaster plays. And the reason is, if you play knight e2 or bishop e3, you lose a piece. You lose a bishop for nothing. Then you cry like a grandmaster. How does black win a free piece? Now, if you were here earlier, and you were, I explained that pieces on these rows are sometimes not defended. Remember how I explained that?
Yeah.
That would be this one, based on my teachings. Yeah, you have queen b4 check, and you win a bishop. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, you don't want to lose a bishop. Yeah, don't touch the camera. Okay, if you play knight e2, then this also wins the bishop. If you play queen e2, there's several reasons why queen b4 doesn't work. One is it's illegal. So the computer won't even let me do it.
Because it's a pen.
Right. And if you could do it, you're still not winning my bishop because my bishop's protected. So even if you could cheat, you're still not winning.
Exactly.
Right, so queen e2 is the best move. Now, when you're playing chess, here's what people do wrong. And your people, well, some of you. Okay, what you guys do wrong is you focus on what's happening and forget about everything else. Let me give you an example. Okay, there's 10 guys in the room and they're pointing guns at you and you're like, that's not good. This happens to me occasionally. And they're like, what do I do? And then some little kid, they have a phone and they're like, I'm going to hit you with the phone. Rawr. Okay? Now, what should I be more scared of?
Gun.
Yeah. And so if I'm like, oh, this kid's with a phone, I'll show him. And then there's the 10 guys with guns and I forget about them. That's not good. That's what happens when you play chess.
Unless you don't forget about them and you kick them.
Right, but as we say in French, je regrette, mais je forget. Okay, now, notice how this is check. If you stare at that check and forget about the whole rest of the chess game, you're going to lose everything. If you're like, I'm in check, don't make noises. I'm in check, but my opponent is going to threaten to fork my king and bishop. I better do something about that. That's how you should think. Not think about one thing, think about everything. You may have noticed earlier in the lecture, I said, that game is 4.5 hours old, and you guys were crying. You're like, well, my games take 10 minutes. Why do those guys play for 4.5 hours? The reason is, you guys don't think very much when you're playing. You're like, I'm in check. Now I'm not in check. And then you're done. Okay? That's why you're not rated 2800. 2800 says, I'm in check. What else is going on? Okay? Oh, my bishop on c4 isn't defended. Is that important? It might be. It might not be. If it is, then you might lose a bishop. Do 2800 players lose their bishop a lot in the opening? No, but you guys do every game. You're like, I lost my bishop for the 1,000th time in a row. I wish I didn't do that. Okay, and the reason you guys lose material is on the 4th and 5th rank, when things aren't protected, sometimes your opponent takes them. You have to watch out for that. And then if you watch out for that, nobody does nothing and nobody never. Rawr. Now, this one has happened to me several times. Okay, is my bishop protected? No. Can he attack it? Not really. He attacked with a pawn, but I moved it. I have a question. Is it protected now?
Not.
No. Okay. Now here, my opponent attacked my pawn, so I defended it. Now, black played a crazy move. Not crazy like Fox News, crazy like a fox. Okay? He played e5, confusing the children, not the adults. You're an adult in this room. Hard to understand. What are you, 14?
15.
Still an adult. Yeah. Are you older than everybody in the room combined?
Mostly.
Yeah,
It's cool with him.
Yeah, that's right. If he's out, then you're good. Okay, so after e5, you should be suspicious. Now, you guys are never suspicious. You guys are like, la, 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 I'm a little kid. My parents buy me everything. Okay, but you should be suspicious and go, my opponent let me take a pawn for nothing. Okay? Now, when you kids play, you're like, oh boy, I can take a pawn. And you take it in 1 second and you jump up in the air. Okay? When you're a grandmaster, you're like, why did my opponent blunder a pawn? Why would he do such a thing? Then you figure out why. Let's figure out why. Now, when I'm white, I play knight f3 because knight f3 is the best move. But let's blunder. That way you guys feel more at home.
No.
Take on e5. Now, black is winning that bishop for free. No!
Yeah, that makes sense.
How does black win that bishop? Anybody? You never say anything. Good job.
G5.
Queen b4 what? Queen b4 check. My joke doesn't work when it's check. Queen b4. Notice how it attacks the king because I said so. And it attacks the bishop because you said so. This means that black wins a bishop. White doesn't want to lose a bishop, so white shouldn't do that. Notice this this rank was blocked. There's a pawn here, so you can't check and take the bishop because you can't jump over the pawn. But after I take, now you can check and take the bishop. Okay, now somebody said g5, then I would move my bishop away and you cry. Yay, and I'm safe. So should white take this pawn? Now I'm going to teach you about engines, okay, like in a car. Okay, a chess engine is really good when somebody gives all their pieces away, even better than me. Okay, so the engine has a light. It changes color. When it's green, you did a good job. When it's yellow, when it's gray, yeah. When it's red, not good. So if I turn the engine on, okay, it says the position's equal, and it's gray because it's bored. And if I take the pawn on e5, what color is it going to be? Red, because that move loses a bishop. Now, this gives the top three moves. Do you see d takes e5 there? No, because that's not a good move. Now, see this button? It's going to turn red because I just gave a bishop away. And it says queen b4 check wins the bishop. Computers are good at that, winning bishops. So if you play a computer, you're going to lose all your pieces. It's going to be like, oh boy, you gave a bishop away and a knight. When you're a grandmaster, you don't give bishops and knights away because that's terrible, right? So when you see a trick like that, you never forget it. That's called elephant chess, right?
No.
I have two jokes I can make. An elephant never forgets, and elephants are nuts, so because they eat nuts. Okay, so you don't want to lose your pieces. When they're not defended, you got to be careful. Okay, this is a game I played before you were born, except for you, and probably you too. Yeah, it was before you were born. So you were the only one alive during this game. I was black, so let's flip the board. Don't tell anybody. So I'll flip the board. Black's on the bottom now. Okay. In this position, I have a question. Is this bishop protected? The answer is yes. The knight's protecting it. Now, he protected it again. That's protected twice. Now, this could happen to you. Don't let it happen to you. Here's what could happen to you. You feel very safe. For example, there's a guy outside and he's going to beat you up. So you lock the front door, you lock this door, which has no lock, and you put 10 security guards in here. Right. Now you're like, oh man, I'm so safe, right? And you're like, okay, I'm the safest person ever, right? Which is true. And then you're so safe, you forget about the guy outside. You're like, oh, I'm so safe. Then you go for a walk outside. Then the guy's, oh, I forgot that guy was going to beat me up outside. I forgot about him. This happens in chess. You're like, oh, that's safe. I forgot about that. And then you're like, oh, wait, it's not safe anymore. I forgot. So this guy's protected so much, white forgot about him. So I played knight d4, attacking everything. So I gave my opponent Kleenex because he was crying. He was like, how'd you attack so much? And I said, I'm a grandmaster. And he said, no, you're not. This game was played 16 years ago. You weren't a grandmaster. I was like, all right, you got me. So he played the only move that makes any sense. What did he play? Knight takes knight. I took attacking his knight. He moved his knight away. Now, let's count. Remember this bishop was protected twice? After here, how many times is it protected? Once. Okay, I attacked his knight. He moved it away. And now I did something you've never heard of, a fork. And they complain. That was much less complain than I expected. You guys should complain better. Okay. So in this position, when you want to fork pieces, you should find pieces that aren't defended. Now, remember I was explaining this to you when you weren't listening? Things aren't protected here. And I was talking about this bishop for like an hour and a half. Yeah. But I didn't talk about that. That's because that wasn't there. That just moved there. Now I'll talk about it. This was on the 3rd rank, protected 1 billion times. Now it's on the 5th rank, protected once. And now it's on the 4th rank, not protected. I have a question for the class. Other than the knight, can you find anything in white's position that's not protected? Anything?
C2.
Pawn on c2. Now the rooks aren't protected, but those are too far away. I can't even attack those. How do I attack these two guys who aren't protected in one move?
Queen D7. I mean, Queen C7.
Right, and when things are really far apart and you want to attack them, I recommend a queen. When things are on different colors and you want to attack them, I recommend a queen. Okay, see how this is on a white square and this is on a dark square?
Yeah.
That means your bishop, your pawn, and your knight cannot attack them both, against the rules.
Oh, because the knight.
If they're on different colors, you can't do it. If you have a queen, you can do it. So I did it because you said so. Okay, now, if you remember earlier in the lecture, I said that game's going for 4.5 hours, and you were all crying. And the reason is, good players go, what should I do? Let me think for 10 minutes. And bad players go, whose turn is it? Mine? And they move in 1 second. Is my opponent a grandmaster or a weak player? The answer is not a grandmaster. You with some comment. Incorrect.
What if really good players are playing blitz?
Then they play fast and make a lot of blunders. Then it's funny. Yeah. Okay. So in this position, I'm going to tell you a funny story. It's a true story. Have you played with the clock before?
Yes.
When you play with the clock, you make your chess move, and then you hit the clock. So this was a chess tournament, so that's what I did. I made my move, and when I went to hit the clock, my opponent made a move. So he thought 0 seconds. Now I'm attacking 2 things. You shouldn't think 0 seconds. Okay? And he did something most of you can't do. He defended this and this. How did he do that? He protected both of them. He played d3. Yeah. Now, this is a psychological thing that confuses you. Let's say I make a move which looks like a blunder. So I make a move, I hit the clock, and I'm like, which you're not allowed to do. Then your opponent says, oh boy, he blundered, moves in 1 second, but I was tricking you. I was getting the Academy Award for pretending I blundered. Okay? So now, when you think your opponent blundered, or you think you have one move, or you want to prove something to your opponent, don't do that. Just sit there bored. And then go, interesting. And then make the right move. Don't do that. That's what a grandmaster does. A weak player jumps in their chair and tosses their phone around and says, wow, it's a cup. Okay, and a grandmaster just sits there and thinks. My second wife, I remember which one, she played in a tournament. It was the lower section for weak players, and she said her opponent ate a cup during a game. He took his cup and he was eating it. So then after that, she stopped playing in the lower sections, and she only played in the top sections and got crushed. But she couldn't take the opponent acting silly, right? And people do that. A lot of kids in our tournament room, they start eating their cup. They put it on their face and make noise. Is that what grandmasters do? No. Grandmaster's interesting. My opponent was not a grandmaster, so he moved instantly. He wanted to show me that he saw that I could fork that, and he was all ready for that. However, after d3, well, that's no good? Okay. After d3, I made a move and he cried. Yeah, remember we talked about this bishop the whole game? Is that bishop protected? No. It was protected, now it's not. Because he played d3. And then I played here. Aww. And he loses a bishop. So he saved his pawn, but lost a bishop. Why didn't he see queen a5? There's 2 possibilities. Let's vote. Queen a5 is too hard. There's no way a guy rated 1900 could see queen a5. Or he played too fast.
He played too fast.
Right. If this was a tactical puzzle on the internet, he would solve it in 1 second. And yet, he lets me do it. This is actually the only thing you need to learn today. If you're good enough to do something, you can never let your opponent do it. If you're like, oh, I have mate in 1. Yay, I'm the greatest. Then you let your opponent make the same mate in 1 against you. That doesn't make any sense. If you saw it for you, why didn't you see it for them? The reason is you're not trying. You're looking for your good moves and not your opponent's good moves. That's why Grandmaster games take 4.5 hours.
Alright.
The Grandmaster's like, what are my good moves? What are my opponent's good moves? They try to stop their opponent's good moves. You guys are like, it's my turn? Okay, here. I'm like, but your opponent has mate in 1. Oh, I didn't see that. You didn't see it not because you're a bad player, because you moved to 1 second. You.
So what do those guys have, like 2 hours on the clock apiece? Is that what those guys?
Yeah, and not only that, this will confuse the children. They start with a lot of time, then when they get to move 40, they get more time. And you accumulate time. There's something called increment, which is sort of new. It's within the last 10 years or so. When you make a move, your clock gives you more time. Yeah, so they're accumulating time. When I played, when I was a kid, they didn't do that. We just lost. Our flag just fell and we lost. Now you don't lose on time, you get more time. Don't do that, that makes noise. Okay, so this is a game that I won, and then my opponent cried. And he was 6'6". Yeah. He read my book, Cry Like a Grandmaster. Let's see what, should I have black at the bottom or white? Ooh, unclear. Let's have black at the bottom. Okay, this is an opening trap that's been known for over 100 years. Okay, and white plays check, and black gets out of check, and white goes here. Okay, now, if 2 grandmasters are playing, black always makes the same move. There's only one move grandmasters play here. If weaker players are playing, a lot of times they blunder. Now, let's see who's paying attention. I know who's not paying attention. Let's see who's paying attention. Which piece on the board, of everything on the board, is instructive for what I've been talking about the whole class? Which piece is the one you focus on? If you were paying attention the whole class, you remember. Which bishop?
Black square bishop.
Correct. Very good. This bishop is on the 4th or 5th row, and it's not protected. This is on the 4th or 5th row, but it is protected. Okay? So this is the bishop you should worry about if you're black. Now, if you're not worried about it, you can lose it in 2 moves. Is that a good idea? If you're white, it is. Okay? So the correct move is this. And there, your bishop's protected, and you can castle either direction depending on which way you like to castle. Weaker players make a blunder here. They're like, oh boy, a free pawn. Okay, if I put that on the engine, it'll give a red light. Now, if you're a good player and you're really good at tactics, you can win this bishop. But it's sort of hard. Too hard for this class. See, let's see if I scare them into solving it. How does white win that bishop?
C3.
Knight takes e6. The guy whose name is Win, he's winning. What does black do? I forgot. Pawn takes is the only move. And now the scariest move ever. Queen h5 is check. You agree. And it wins the bishop. Right? I hate when that happens. Unless I'm white, then I like it. Okay, so let's turn the engine on here. Okay, what does it play for black? It says queen d5 or g6. G6 I've never seen in my life. Man, g6, that really stops queen h5 check now, doesn't it? That makes queen h5 very silly. Okay, I've never seen them move g6. It's a novelty. Okay, now if I play queen d5, if I play queen f6, what color light's that going to be?
Red.
Red. Red light. White plays knight takes e6, queen h5 check, and wins the bishop. Now, most people don't think ahead. They just move one move at a time, and they lose all their pieces. Is that what grandmasters do? No, they go, what's my opponent going to do? And there's 3 things you want to see every move. Checks, captures, and threats. Now, threats is a lot. Checks and captures is easy. I have a question. Is knight takes e6 a capture? Yeah. Is queen h5 check a check? So if your opponent does that, you shouldn't say, oh, that's too hard for me. Now, if your opponent plays a4, and that's the winning move, I don't expect you to see that. Because that's not a check, and it's not a capture. If your opponent checks and captures and beats you, that's your fault. If your opponent plays king h1 and beats you, that's my fault. Because that's not a check or a capture. So you're supposed to not see that. You're supposed to see checks and captures. So when I put you in check and you're like, oh no, I missed that, that's your fault. That's why they think 4.5 hours. Let's see if they're still playing. Well, there's no moves? I don't believe that. There we go. Okay, they're still playing. So this game's been going for almost 5 hours. And how about the other game? The internet doesn't work. Here you go. And the other guys are still playing too. Okay, because they're like, what's my opponent going to do? Wow, there's a lot of winning today. Usually it's all draws. That's good. It's good when people win. Draws are boring, right? You guys never draw.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
sometimes you have to draw because
That's right.
other moves do.
That's correct. Yeah. Okay. Now this is something that happened in my family. Which piece is of consequence in this puzzle?
The dark square bishop.
It's on the 5th row and it's not protected.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, so far we're safe. So far. Okay. Here. Now, if you check, see how it's checked because I said so?
Yeah.
Looks good. Black has 1 move to save himself. Who can find it? All of you can find it. Knight c6.
Yeah.
Okay, so white played knight f3. Black played knight c6. Okay, now white played d5 attacking the knight because I said so. Now we're going to raise our hand, if you know how to do that, and suggest a good move for black. According to the computer, there's 1 good move, so you better suggest that one. You with a good move.
Bishop takes c3.
Correct. Bishop takes c3. If you move your knight, how about here?
No.
Yeah, that's a move.
Oh, good.
You don't touch the camera leg. You keep touching it. Don't touch the camera leg. It moves the camera.
But that's
Yeah.
not excellent.
What does white do?
Oh, same idea.
Which is
Queen a4.
queen a4 check. That wins the bishop.
Anyway.
Right. So if black moves the knight, queen a4 check wins the bishop. So black should play bishop takes c3. That way you don't lose any material. If you don't do that, you lose material. So when your piece is defended and the guy attacks the defender, you got to be careful. That's called removing the defender. And what people do is they're like, my knight's attacked, I move my knight away. And when you play chess in 3 seconds, you blunder a lot. If you think about which pieces are protected, which pieces are not protected, you don't blunder as much. Let's say you're the commander of the U.S. Army, and there's 2 soldiers. The other ones are all asleep. And one soldier is sitting next to you, and you're like, hey, what's up? And the other soldier is in a foreign country in a war. Right? And you're like, oh, I forgot about him. Oh, well, he's dead. Probably shouldn't forget about him, right? Yeah. If you forget about your pieces that are really far away, then your opponent takes them. So when your knight's attacked, it's easy to forget about this soldier who's far away. Don't forget about him. You gotta take that knight, otherwise you're gonna lose your bishop for nothing. Don't forget about your other pieces just because something's attacked. When you see the cup of coffee here, there could be $1 million over there. If you're like, ooh, coffee, then your friend takes the $1 million and you stare at the coffee. Now, if it was my mom, she would take the coffee, but that's a different story. Okay, true story too. Yeah, it's funny. Little kids who were stupid, which is like all of them. I'm like, do you want $1 million or 1 million Pokemon cards? Right? This is like years ago when Pokemon was popular, and no kid ever said $1 million. 1 million Pokemon cards, and they would like, yes, where is it? And their parents were like, oh, stupid kids I have, right?
Yeah.
If you get them,
I would be so rich if I had $20 million. I would be so rich.
Ugh.
Well,
Okay,
how are you supposed to
no talking ever. Okay, now, I was in Chicago before you were born, except for you, but you too. And it was a master, everybody was a master. So you guys have ratings? Like 1,200?
It's a junior.
There you go. These people were rated 2,200, 2,300, etc. Is that good? Yeah. Okay. And this was a game. I was sitting next to a game. I was like, la, 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 la. Oh, there's a game. And I was playing my game. The game next to me went like this. Okay. And white played pawn takes pawn. Black can play bishop takes, pawn takes, or queen takes. Now, here's another reason why you relax. You're like, oh, it's move 5. Nothing bad can happen on move 5. I've mated people on move 2, so bad stuff can happen all the time. In this position, black played the worst move. Now, based on the lecture, which piece is important here? Which is the one we're going to lose?
The bishop.
This bishop?
The white square bishops.
These bishops? Yeah. So this bishop is on the 4th or 5th row, and it's not protected. So what's the worst move for black?
She takes d5.
And that's what black played, and he was 2,300. The truth hurts. If you blunder your bishop on move 5, you'll be 2,300. Oh, wait, no. Okay. So black took this way, and then he cried next move. Why did he cry?
Look at that knight.
Right. Also, he could have taken it.
Yeah, because then it would be an even trade.
Right, and he won't lose his bishop then. That would have been better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's not down any material.
Right.
It was just an even trade.
Yeah, that would have been better. What did white do here, which was good for white?
Check.
Queen a4 check. Notice it's check because I said so. And he's attacking the bishop. So even though he's rated 2,300, he lost a bishop immediately. You.
Is this the main check that we always see?
Well, so far. Now, if we take the other way, there is no check. If we take the knight, as recommended by our classmate, you don't lose your bishop. Take with the queen, there's no check. So black found the only bad move. Good job. Probably he moved too fast.
Yeah.
Now, remember what I told you like 5 minutes ago? When your opponent has a move, what move should you look at? Checks and captures.
The best moves.
White has 0 captures. That's not a lot, is it? And white has 1 check. And that move wins a bishop. So black has no excuse for blundering his bishop. So then he bought a copy of my book, Cry Like a Grandmaster. Tough crowd. You with some comment.
Is the book still the bestseller on the New York Times?
Yeah, but and on Amazon. Yeah. Okay, next blunder. Okay, this was a game between 2 international masters. These are the 2 best players I've shown you so far. Okay, in this position, no, Magnus Carlsen's better than international master. In this position, white's threatening the pawn because I said so. So black protected it. Then white attacked the bishop because I said so. And black made the losing move. Okay, notice the bishop's protected because it is. Where could you move that bishop? Where it's on the 4th and 5th row, where it's not protected. And that's what he did. Yeah. He played bishop h5, and then he cried next move.
Wait, can't you just play bishop f5?
You could play anything with bishop h5. Bishop h5 is a terrible move. So bishop f5 is okay, bishop takes knight is okay, but he found bishop h5, then he cried after.
Because queen b5 check.
Queen b5 check.
Forking the key and the bishop.
Is that good for white or good for black?
Good for white.
Yeah, so bishop h5 was a good move?
Yeah.
No.
That's the worst.
That was a blunder.
Correct. If I turn the engine on, it's like gray, boring. Then when I play bishop h5, it's like, what are you doing? Why would you blunder your bishop? And I think the reason is, obviously, international master can see that. He's like, oh, it's move 4. Nothing bad can happen on move 4. If you don't pay attention the whole game, you lose your pieces immediately. Then you cry. Okay, I gave a lecture before you were born, and I showed this position.
The Sicilian.
Yeah. And I explained to the class that black shouldn't play knight takes pawn. 3 days later, I had this position. And my opponent, rated 1,400, played knight takes pawn. I just lectured on how you can't do that. Then somebody did it 3 days later. Is that knight on the 4th or 5th row and not protected?
Yes.
So what did I do?
You took it. Almost took it.
Man, I should have taken it.
Oh, check. Check.
I have one thing to say to you. What? I didn't hear you. Okay, so bishop b5 check is what he said.
Plus, and also queen a4.
Right, he said queen a4 check. Notice that it's check because I said so. And you win the knight.
So you said so?
So I played queen a4 and he was like, oh. Okay,
Queen a4 is actually the best move because
Correct.
it wins another piece.
I have a question. Should black play knight takes e4? That was a bad move.
No. Because there was a blunder.
Right, and if I turn the engine on and I play 94, the red light goes on.
Yeah.
So when you put your pieces on the 4th row and the 5th row and they're not protected, your opponent might take them. And you shouldn't be surprised because I taught you that. Like, oh man, Ben just showed me that and then I blundered again. Remember that guy who got 4-move checkmated every game? I showed him that and it still happened to him. If I tell you your name is Joe and you're like, okay, then you're like, what's my name? I forgot. Right? Now, when you were born, your parents gave you a name. Do you forget your name? Now, I do know a guy who did forget his name. Because he had a cup like this, but it didn't have coffee in it, if you know what I mean. And he had too many of them, so he was like, who am I? Okay? If you forget stuff that you're taught, then why am I teaching you? If I'm like, don't do that, that loses, and you're like, then you do it the next game? Then what? So if I teach you 4-move checkmate, you're like, yeah, I know that. Then you get 4-move checkmated, then you don't really know it, right? You know 2 plus 2 is 4. But do you know what 88 plus 8, 88 plus, do you know what 88 times 88 is?
Yes.
Like I do, but you
I
don't.
don't know.
I do.
Well,
What is it?
I do a- I don't know.
See, he didn't say the answer in less than a second. If I asked him 2 plus 2, he would. So you know one, you know the other one, you know better. It's obviously 7744, obviously. Obviously, right? What? No, I said times. Yeah, plus tax. Okay, next one, because there's an infinite number of these. Infinite. Now, this is the toughest one. This is from a known opening in a position that has hundreds of Grandmaster games. It's the Slav. You've never heard of the Slav. Now you have. Don't touch that. Okay, now, no talking. In this position, bishop f5 is the most common move, but bishop g4 is a move. Okay, now, black plays the move e5. If I turn on the reference database, that's every game ever played in chess history. This position's occurred hundreds of times. Karpov, Kramnik, Kasparov, Aronian, the best players in the world. Okay, now, no talking. So this position's happened hundreds of times. There's a move white can make that's a blunder. Do grandmasters make that blunder? No. Okay. Now, what are the 2 important pieces here based on the lecture? Which 2 pieces are important?
The bishop and the pawn
The bishop
and the knight.
and the knight. That's on the 4th and 5th rank, and they're not protected. So white can blunder here. Grandmasters don't blunder. Grandmasters play knight e4. By playing pawn takes pawn. A free pawn. And now that moves a blunder. How does black win? Yeah.
Queen H4.
Queen h4 check. Notice how it's check because I said so. And you attack the knight.
You said so.
So white shouldn't do that. So when your pieces are not protected, now when I click the reference database, it says knight e4 is the most common and so forth. D takes e5 was played 5 times. That's the blunder I showed you. And white scored 0%. That's not a good percent.
Yeah.
Notice e4 scores 70%. Now there's a percent. Because D takes e5 is a blunder. 5 people did that out of like 400, 500. That's because they're not good.
They were ground.
Are they going to be grandmasters? No, they're going to be Rufus, Doofus, and their 3 cousins.
What about the one? The rating's gonna be like 2.
Yeah. Also, this tells you which grandmasters played those moves. You see what it says D takes e5? There's no grandmaster names. Yeah, because they don't play that. You,
What about the very last one on the bottom?
H4? Oh, horrible. H4, what are you, little kids? Yeah, also 0%. No grandmasters. Okay? So if you give your pieces away, you will lose. You guys always give your pieces away. Thank you.
No, I don't.
No, when you play me, you do. Thanks. Okay, so what's funny is there's a lot to chess. There's opening theory, endgame theory, positional play, tactics, forks, skewers, pins, all kinds of stuff.
Like
But if you're bad at everything, and you are, and you give pieces away, and your opponent doesn't give pieces away, I know who's going to win. If you're like, I don't understand chess, but I never give pieces away, then you understand chess. If you never lose a knight for nothing, and your opponents always lose a knight for nothing, you're going to win. So when I play other grandmasters, usually it's draw, 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 draw. When I play you guys are like, here's a knight, here's a bishop. Oh, I missed it. And I'm like, yes. Okay. So at the grandmaster level, we don't give pieces away. There's a lot of draws. If I'm playing somebody rated 1700, 1800, 1900, they give all their pieces away, so I win. Then my rating's higher than theirs. And the reason is I know these tricks. When pieces aren't protected, I know how to take advantage. So should white play d takes e5? Was that a good move?
No.
No. And if I turn on the engine and I play this, the red light goes on and it says queen h4 wins. Now here's the problem. If I show you that and then you have white and you play it anyway and go, oh yeah, he showed that and I forgot. How's that going to help you? But if you keep blundering every single game, eventually you'll stop like I did. I stopped when I was 10. When I was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, I lost. That's how I rolled. Then when I was 10, I was like, aha, I'm going to stop doing that. So I blundered for 5 years, and then I stopped blundering. Then my rating went up, right? That's how you get better. You blunder, then you stop doing it. Sometimes you can learn because other people blunder. You're like, aha, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what that guy did. So you don't have to lose. You can watch other people lose and go, oh, I'll remember that for next time. That's actually what I do every day. I watch these grandmaster games, and then when they blunder, you're like, this guy, he drinks orange juice during his game or something. They're still playing. They've been playing forever. Their game's never going to end. You see these two guys? That's these two guys. That's the real board. That's the board we're looking at. Although we can also look at the real board. And that's the chess clock. You heard of a chess clock? See how they think? You guys are like this when you're playing. When they play, they're like this. Okay, that's why they're grandmasters and you guys are in a class. You.
So they sit right there for all the time. They take a break, go to some McDonald's, or come back and have a drink or something. They sit there for all the hours.
You could get up and walk around, but you can't leave. Yeah. Yeah, the guy just got up. He's gone.
Oh, yeah.
That's because it's not his turn. He's walking around. Can't leave, though. You.
Do most Grandmaster games end in resigning?
That's correct, except it's sort of correct. So there's 3 normal ways the game ends. Draw, somebody says I give up, or you get checkmated. At the Grandmaster level, there's never checkmate.
Yeah,
Never.
basically like.
Yeah, when the guy's losing, as you said, he gives up. You guys should never give up because your opponents are suspicious. So I wouldn't give up.
Well, you should resign for some reason.
You shouldn't. Not with the people you're playing. Don't resign. Okay? These guys are suffering. They like to suffer. This is the best junior in the world. He's like 20 years old and he's 2750. Okay? And this guy's old school. He's almost as old as me. Nobody's as old as me, but he's almost as old as me. That's how old he is. Okay? He knows he has a bad position, so he's crying like a grandmaster. What's funny is it says that it's white's move. So he played rook c3 here, but he didn't play rook c3 here. Oh, it's not live, that's why. Okay, I clicked the live button. Now he played rook c3. Now he left, and that guy's thinking. Right? And the computer says he should play queen b7. He should move his queen all the way down here. That's the best move according to the computer. And there's a lot of games going on, and most of them are done. That guy's the arbiter. He's the director. So he makes sure there's no cheating, or that there's a lot of cheating. I don't know. No cheating.
Is he a pretty good player himself?
No. Usually the arbiters are suspicious. Yeah. They just know the rules. Like, hey, you can't do whatever you're doing. Yeah.
What do they do, make you put your phone in the locker or something like that?
Yeah, you can't have your phone in the room. Yeah, if your phone goes off, you lose. If you play a 5-hour game, your phone makes a noise, you lose. Which has happened. The guy next to me once in the U.S. Championship. His phone went off after 4 hours, so he lost. You can't bring your phone in the room. Yeah. Okay, he played queen d1. That's a good move, too. And the computer... So he's going to play queen d1 in a second. Queen d1. There it is. His queen's on d1. Now that guy sat down. He read my book, Sit Down Like a Grandmaster. Now, let's see who's paying attention. Who's better at chess? One of these guys or me?
One of those guys.
The most accurate answer was both of those guys. But yeah, they're both way better than me. This guy's actually funny. This guy's not funny. He's not funny. Peter's Fiddler's pretty funny. Yeah. He does commentary a lot. This guy's higher rated, but this guy's younger. The younger guy's going to win this game. When the game's 5 hours long, the older guy goes, oh, I'm tired and old. Leave me alone. right? The younger guy's like, I'm young, I'm not tired. Yay. That's why you guys can beat me. I mean, good job. All right, and as Gene Wilder likes to say, class is dismissed.